Hey Duck fans, Kurt here. Welcome to yet another FishDuck one-on-one video. Well, Jordan Whitley has lived a life that most only dream about, traveling the world and being right up front amidst the coolest sporting events. As a travel correspondent and journalist and sports reporter, she's combined two of the best careers imaginable into one awesome life. As the newest member of the Comcast team, the Comcast Sportsnet College Football Insider Reporter, I think I said the entire thing. Fit that onto a business card. Fans now get to see plenty of Jordan this fall covering the Oregon Ducks and Oregon State Beavers. Hi Jordan, how you doing?
Hello, you making my life sound so glamorous.
We'll get into everything that you're doing now here in the Northwest, but first let's get a little bit of the backstory. You've led quite an interesting career already, but Oregon fans have been seeing you now as part of the Comcast Net team, but you were originally from the South, Auburn area, and you went to Bama, which I thought was illegal. Don't they, if you return to Auburn, don't they hang you from Toomer's Corner if you defect like that?
They do. They hang you from the tree, and then they throw toilet paper at you when Alabama wins. But luckily, there was a loophole. It was well, they don't have a broadcast school at Auburn, so you can go to Alabama. Just don't be a fan. And I was like, okay. And so now it's weird. I don't know who to cheer for sometimes.
So coming from Alabama and then going to Crimson Tide, even though you're from Auburn, which is weird, what was it that led you into broadcasting?
Well, I don't, it's ever since I've been 15, I knew I wanted to tell stories and be a part of something bigger, something people cared about. And I had this transition when I left college. I went to LA and I wanted to learn from the best. And I was like Ryan Seacrest, water girl at the Grammys, and it was amazing to watch someone do stuff live and just interview people. And I was hooked. But I knew, I was there's no way I can do entertainment. My soul was emptying out. So I took a job being a ski reporter in Lake Tahoe. So that kind of hooked me into the sports world. We got to ski all day, do the morning show. It was just, I was this is a real job. This is it. And then it led to the X Games and motocross and everything. But I just felt my heart was football. It's what I grew up on. I wanted to kind of tie all my roots into all my experience. And so I started doing Auburn, Alabama football for Comcast Sports South.
Fantastic.
Yes, and then all this came about where they needed a reporter up here, and I jumped on it and drove 6 days across the country, moved into Eugene, and here I am.
I'm sure quite a contrast. How are you acclimating to life in the Northwest versus being down south?
I don't know. The weather is wonderful. When I first moved here, I moved to Portland, and I was oh, Portland, there it is a little weird, but in a cool way. And then I moved to Eugene, and it's you got rivers and mountains are just, I don't know. I'm an outdoorsy girl, so this is perfect for me. And everyone's been very lovely. Jordan Kent lives here, and him and his girlfriend have been taking me all around and adopting me. So it's just, everyone's been so nice. I'm really happy to be here.
Well, you grew up in an area that's known for big-time rivalries between Auburn and Bama and some other teams down south that we hear about quite a bit up there. But what was your outside perceptions of Oregon? And now that you're immersed in, surprisingly, Civil War is up here. It's not.
I know,
not
that's such a weird.
South.
How did that name? I want to know how that name came about. So I guess in-state. But, I'd heard so many big, amazing things about Oregon football and, the fan base. It was, on par with SEC. And when I got here, I was and this was, Arkansas State game when the students weren't even here. And it was just electric. So, they lived up to the hype. That's for sure.
Well, just wait until that Civil War game comes around.
It's going to be even more interesting now with the new rankings. So.
Absolutely. This is the first time in over a decade that both Oregon teams have been undefeated at this point in the season to accumulate at 6-0. So it's interesting times. Oregon certainly was expected. Oregon State, not really expected. They've been a big surprise. So you've had the opportunity to cover both teams, traveling recently down to LA to cover Oregon State's win at UCLA. So thus far in the year, getting a chance to look at both teams closely, what are your impressions?
I knew with Oregon State, I knew when I came into camp that there was this hunger, and they kind of knew what they had. They just had to prove it. They said back when they lost, before Christmas, they got everyone together and we're this is not going to happen again. We have the personnel. We're going to fight. We're going to make a name for ourselves. And it's just been that defense that is just really, they're just solid. Everybody's making plays. Jonathan Franklin held to 45 net yards. They're calling the Ducks, or not the Ducks, they're calling the Beavers the Heisman killers now, because he got Monte Ball and Jonathan Franklin. So it's very exciting to see. And then the Ducks, I mean, just stepping it up every weekend. We thought, okay, Arizona, legitimate test. Like, what are we going to see? Are they going to stumble? And then, okay, shutout. Really? I mean, just pure dominant. So
it's definitely shaping up to be a very interesting year in the Pac-12 North. So you picked a good time to head out west at this point.
So on Sunday morning, I was like, all right, this is awesome.
Well, when you're not doing that, though, the other thing that you've been immersed in is international travel correspondent. So how in the world did sports reporting and international travel correspondent come together? How do you balance the two? And what's next on the bucket list of places to go?
Well, when I'm covering sports, people are like, wait, so you do travel radio? I'm like, yeah, it's my other job in the travel radio. They're like, sports. Like, it's just two separate worlds. But I've been a gypsy since I was like 7 years old. And I just have been obsessed with seeing the world. And I started doing radio production for Peter Greenberg, and he's the gentleman on CBS who does the travel journalism and American Airlines. And so he, once a month we get on a plane and set up shop literally in a different city around the world. And it's the most stressful and chaotic 2 days of my life. Like, I literally, every time I'm done with it, I'm like, never again. It's too much. Like, I get his bag robbed at a party, or like, I'm in the Caribbean and they give me a computer from 1980 to do a whole show off of, and I'm calling through, and it's nuts. But it really makes you just on your toes, and seeing different ways people operate around the world. Not everyone operates on a level that they do in Los Angeles. I'm going to tell you that right now. But now, I kind of had to put that on the side. When football season's over, maybe I'll get to do more of that. But right now, it's 24/7. I think I get Sunday mornings off, and that's the only time off.
That's just time for NFL, so you're still immersed in football regardless.
Sleep, I'll just watch football, yeah.
So, as such a versatile reporter, doing international travel, doing action sports with ESPN, covering college football, a little bit of everything, off the top of your head, what's the weirdest or strangest story that you've ever had to cover? Or maybe the funniest one that always comes to mind is like, well, at least I'm not doing that one again.
Oh, man. I've had some very, a lot of what I do with action sports is all live. And so we're like at the events and we're on the screens. So whatever's happening, we're covering it. And usually I don't know who's showing up. I'm kind of like, okay, who's coming around the corner that I need to interview? Am I going to know this person? And this past time at the X Games, we had a big stage, and they would just line up athletes and send us, they're like, this person's coming, and we're sitting there and we're doing this live kind of chat, and this guy walks on stage and sits down, and he's an athlete from New Zealand, and we had no idea who he was. I was like, is he motocross? Is he a skateboarder? And he had been drinking whiskey all day. So it was probably the worst 5-minute free fall of my life. Got through it. I figured out, oh, he's a freestyle motocross rider who lost and didn't even make it into the finals. His name was Rob, and that's the last I'm going to see from him. So, unless he's watching. Hi, Rob. Sorry.
Hi, Rob. Hi, Rob. So is that the story that usually comes out, after the day is done and you're just, talking amongst peers and swapping stories well, at least it was never as bad as this one? Because, of course, nothing ever bad happens when things are live.
Oh, no. Usually you just roll with it. Sometimes the sound will go out and I'm just like, just a robot. I don't even know what to do. But, yeah, so far that was probably, even now when I get to do tape stuff or I'm covering the Ducks, I'm like, well, at least I know everybody's story and I know where we're going with this. It's a very, secure feeling for sure.
Now that you're part of the Comcast Sports Northwest team, your presence is not just on Comcast Sportsnet on TV. You have a very large presence on the internet. You can find all of Jordan's work, of course, at csnnw.com. That's Comcast Sportsnet Northwest.com. You're doing interviews every day, you're at practices, you're doing game recaps. For people who haven't checked it out yet, clue people in a little bit on all the coverage that you are providing to the fans.
Oh, thank you. Well, yeah, we are diving in. I'm at both practices back and forth literally every day, and we're getting we're trying to get the injury reports from Coach Kelly, which now, doesn't always happen, but we're really like, we're doing the whole, okay, this is what's going on. This is what we're looking forward to. These are the predictions for games. And then we're also trying to kind of dig a little bit deeper and show more of like, the personable side of the athletes. This week I'm going with Brian Jackson, one of the safeties for the Ducks, and we're going to...
He's an Alabama kid.
Yes, he is, right? He's got an A on his arm, but it's not the tied A. But we're going to do some drills together on the field and hang out. And then last week I took Malcolm Agnew and Storm Woods and we played foosball and kind of did some interviews. And I'm hoping Terrence Mitchell will play table tennis with me next week because he grew up playing table tennis with his dad. So, just different things. But it's all online, 5 videos a day. We do game day on Saturdays, which is live reports and features, and then I'm at the games, blogging away, writing away, and then doing the after games. So it's pretty much 24/7. You just go on csnnw.com and get your fix.
You've had the opportunity to get a lot of one-on-one time with a lot of the Oregon Duck athletes, to get a chance to really know these guys inside out in a way that a lot of fans don't. So now that you've had a chance to sit down with guys like Marcus Mariota and Kenya Barner and some of the other guys on the team, what are some interesting factoids you might have that fans may not immediately know?
Well, when I sat down with Mariota, it was like it was 2 days before, the first game, and he had just been named, the starting quarterback, and we just sat down in Autzen, and I was like, have you taken this empty stadium? And he's like, no. So I was having this moment with him where he's looking at like the keys to the kingdom, and he's really a funny guy. Like, he seems really quiet, but he was the first in his family to play football. His dad was from American Samoa, and he grew up as a Cowboys fan, and that's why I wanted to start playing. And he has 2 poodles back in Hawaii named Pepe and Ulu. And his girlfriend just moved here from Hawaii. They've been doing long distance. She came here last week. So, it's just fun to see stuff like that from him. And then, DeAnthony Thomas, like, he's the oldest of 4 brothers, and so he talks about how when he left home, like, he passed that on to his brother, and they're leading the leadership roles. And then Kenyon Barner, I thought the fact that he did gentle yoga was kind of be all end all for him, but no, this week he started taking ballet classes, so we will now see him lighter on his feet, if you will. And then Deion Jordan, turns out he does not like the nickname Praying Mantis, and I made a huge deal about it, and now I'm mortified. First he called Giant from WWE if he had to have a nickname. So
that's really interesting because he's never gonna lose that nickname ever. It's been permanently tattooed on him. So
I was like, well, what is the praying mantis? He's like, I don't know. It's like a big green insect with long arms. I'm like, no, it is this insect that, like, the second you're not looking, it's like zoop, it attacks you and then it'll eat you alive. That is why you have the nickname, because you just take down quarterbacks. So he should appreciate that nickname.
And freakishly long arms too.
yeah, exactly.
The job of a reporter sometimes comes with its own, shall we say, hazards. So what are some of the things doing your job that people may not immediately realize that are come with the territory, that are not all the glamour and glitz?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it was an exciting moment when Oregon State won and the fans rushed the field, but I didn't know that they actually like, someone was like, watch out, they're going to jump over the gates. Like, no one does that. Okay, so I'm standing here and it was like tidal wave, bam, just trampled, and I'm like trying to fight to get out of this crazy crowd, and the next day I was just like, covered in bruises, but I mean, it was fun. And then the Rose Bowl, like, sometimes you think, oh, these reporters go and they've got their whole crews or whatever, but like away games, it's me and like 50-pound tripod and like a computer and a camera, and I'm at the Rose Bowl, and they didn't get my parking pass, so I parked at like the far end of the golf course, and I'm carrying everything, and I finally get to the gate and I'm sweating, and I'm like, hey, I just need my pass, and they're like, oh, this is F, you need to be at A. And so all the way. Finally get there, and then they're like, oh, the press box entrance is at E. So I go there all the way around, and then after the game, we work so late that we get locked into the Rose Bowl. So I got all this equipment, I walk around, and I go back onto the golf course, and it's pitch black dark. There's like some sketchy stuff going on. I've got all this equipment. I'm like trying not to cry, and I'm like, I have a taser, don't attack me, and I finally get my car, and, you know, it's one of those, there's so much before and after, and everyone just sees this 3 minutes of, like, your world, but, you know, it's physically challenging, if you will.
There's the story behind the story that's almost more interesting. Well, you had the advantage of sitting down with Marcus Mariota before the start of the season, something the reporters did not, so you had time to practice something that has been one major dilemma facing all fans and reporters all year. How long did it take you to learn and memorize how to say Marcus Mariota?
I still say it wrong. I've got it in my head, and it's like Marcus. But he said his full name. It's like Marcus something, and this really long, like, American Samoan name, and then I can't even say it now. It's stuck in my head. Mariota. Mariota. So embarrassing. And then he even had to pronounce it on camera. I'm like, it's not, like, why is it so hard? I don't understand. But we did practice it, so hopefully
they're still getting it wrong over the PA at Autzen Stadium.
Mariota, Coach Mariota, and Coach Aliati. I'm like, okay, we're gone.
We've seen USC go down. There's been a lot of surprises. So has this season played out how you expected, and what do you foresee for the rest of the year for our Pacific Northwest brethren?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been like the past few weeks have been just kind of these crazy, you know, I mean, Washington State just getting, like, you know, handed to, you know, anyway, like, a lot of things haven't gone the way we thought, but I was not anticipating the USC drop as far as it did, so now I'm reconfiguring that whole Pac12 championship. I always thought Oregon was going to be in there. I always thought Oregon had a solid shot to go to the BCS, but now they're just kind of decimating people. It's really, the playing field isn't as even. You know, it's almost like they're going up here and then Oregon State jumping in, and it's shaking up a lot. So I'll leave it at that.
It's very interesting. And if things stay the way they are right now, you could be in Miami with Alabama on one sideline and Oregon on the other sideline.
You know how weird that would be? Like, that would be, like, what would I do? I mean,
I think you'd have to stay in the end zone in the neutral area over by the band the entire time.
I know. It would be nice. I'd get to see all my friends. They're all obsessive, crazy Alabama fans. They would probably go to, you know, Casablanca if there was an Alabama game. So it'd be kind of fun for me. I'm rooting for that matchup, to be honest. I think it'll be very exciting to see.
Would you have to wear one of those split in half shirts that's like one side team colors and the other side other team colors?
It's like those jackets that, like, infants have to wear when their parents are one team and the other, the split. Yeah. So I just wear black and keep my head down and, you know, hope for the best.
Well, for everyone who's wondering, you can catch Jordan Whitley on Comcast Sports Net. Check your local TV provider, as well as on csnnw.com for daily updates. This girl does not get a chance to rest. Every day there are updates about the Ducks and the Beavers and Pacific Northwest sports in general. Any final thoughts on the upcoming or the current season?
Well, you know, when you talked about the way, you know, with Oregon, the way that everything's playing out, we always thought, oh, there's not a lot of enough depth at running back. And then you have Colt Ayerla coming in, basically, like, just running the ball all over the place. So I think I'm really just looking forward to seeing him on the field more. He's that good package when you get him and Brian Bennett together, too. So I'm glad to see everybody really stepping up and mixing it up on that team.
We knew that Chip Kelly was an innovator, but we had no idea he would invent an all-new play, the Siamese touchdown.
Yes, yeah, and I was surprised, and then I was like, why would I not be surprised? He's like, it's this puzzle.
It's Chip Kelly.
6 pieces, and he reconfigures it, and then it's a better picture than you could have imagined.
Well, her name is Jordan Whitley. You can catch her on Comcast Sports Net. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your very busy schedule covering the Ducks and the Beavers. We look forward to all of your great coverage, Pacific Northwest Sports on Comcast Sports. So thank you, Jordan Whitley, the Comcast Sports Net College Football Insider Reporter. Did I get that right?
Yes, and on csnnw.com. Tweet us at csnnw.